On this week's GTA 5 o'clock, news of casinos, street racing and drug dealing activities in GTA Online. San Andreas goes mobile, and Rockstar job listings point towards Red Dead Redemption 2. Plus, your chance to win a GTA 5 goodie bag. Get all the info right now on this week's GTA 5 o'clock. Hello and welcome to this week's GTA 5 o'clock. I am James Jarvis. I am joined, as ever, by Dan Dawkins.
Good day to you.
Good day, Dan. And we are here to talk, as always, about GTA 5 and all of the new things that come out this week. We've got lots of stuff in this week's show. Kind of kick it off with some news about some mobile games and some possible hints towards a new Rockstar game in the works. And then we've got some stuff for a GTA Online update, which everyone has been asking for a long time. And we're going to discuss if it is, in fact, real or not. So, Dan, let's kick off with the news. GTA San Andreas is coming to mobiles.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked by this because I know that they always talk about the processing power of mobile phones, particularly the later tablets like the new iPad Air, and say they can run older games. But at the time, San Andreas was like one of the most technically advanced games of its era, and in fact to the point where I felt like it was almost breaking PS2. Because in terms of those rolling environments, the hills, Mount Chiliad, going out into the countryside, it really did feel like the machine couldn't handle it, and it still feels to me vaguely magical that it might run on an iOS device. But I guess, you know, hey, it's been quite a long time, and you know, the machines are probably more powerful than PS2 is by now, you know.
Yeah.
And Rockstar are taking advantage of that, and they've itemised some of the things that they're adding, including, it says, newly remastered graphics, including dynamic and detailed shadows, greater draw distances, like I said, it was breaking on PS2, an enriched colour palette, plus enhanced character and car models to make this the best looking version of San Andreas yet.
In your hands. The best looking version in your hands as well.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then obviously we'll get on to one of the big problems straight away a lot of people will think is, I could not even contemplate playing San Andreas on an iPhone, given how fiddly it was on PlayStation 2 with the DualShock controller. Imagine being told, like, stupid CJ, you only had to follow the train. Yeah. Like, imagine that.
Time and time again.
Yeah, but playing it on your iPhone with like one of those wobble devices.
Yeah.
Now, Rockstar have clearly seen this problem coming down the tracks, if you'll excuse the deliberate pun, because it says GTA San Andreas also features brand new touch controls, including contextual control options to display buttons only when you need them. Which sounds almost like a QTE type thing, but that's quite nice, as in, you know, you tap the screen in a certain position when you have to do a certain thing. Great, it takes the pressure off having to do clever things with multiple button presses. It says there's 3 different control schemes for driving and manoeuvring, as well as a reworked checkpoint system.
Good.
Thank God.
Good.
Particularly when you're following trains, for easier progression. Now, the most interesting thing, because I didn't even know this existed, was that on iOS, San Andreas will support Apple's Made for iOS controller feature, which means you can use controllers like Logitech. I've got something called the PowerShell controller, and there's the Mogger Ace Power gamepad that I haven't invented. That's a real thing. And you can play games with like physical buttons and joysticks. Now, I thought, you know, where do you plug the pad into your phone? Surely this won't work. Now, how it actually works is your iPhone plugs into the centre of a frame, which is in fact the pad, much like a Wii U gamepad, where your iPhone plays the role of the screen.
Yeah.
And now these devices are available for like $99, so I guess like £80-ish. And you know, actually looks like that could be quite a decent way to play the game.
Yeah, apart from the fact that you would then have to carry around that giant controller with you as well as your phone.
Hence diminishing the portability. But so I'd have thought if I'm going to play San Andreas again, it's probably going to be on iPad. But I still feel like, given the fiddliness of that game, I really can't wait to see how they
it'll be interesting to see what it looks like, definitely.
It's worth noting as well, GTA 3 and Vice City have already got the iOS treatment, and you know, I've had pretty reasonable reviews. You may have played them yourselves. They're only £2.99, which is around about $5, so
bargain. Look
look forward to a bargain price point.
Alright, so that's GTA San Andreas on mobile. Let's move on to something quite exciting, and Rockstar have put up a load of job listings on their site for things about the next game that Rockstar San Diego might be creating.
Yeah, I think you've got more details on the individual positions, but they've advertised for things that it says skills suiting the wide range of gameplay mechanics found in a Rockstar open world game, because it doesn't really narrow it down. Rockstar make an awful lot of open world games, that's kind of their thing, but it does talk about needing professionals with PS3 and 360 experience who've got, the quote is, the skill to get the most from next gen consoles.
Yeah, I've pulled out a few things that each of the positions, obviously there's loads of different positions, but some of them give you a bit more hints into what they could be creating. Are we going to say now, Dan, that we think, given the Rockstar San Diego's history, that it's a Red Dead sequel?
I think let's put it out there, and I'll debate that in a minute.
Okay, so I'm just going to go through a couple of them. The multiplayer systems technical designer, Dan, I know this is one that you'll probably be applying for, is going to be heavily involved with the production and design of the whole game, including missions and gameplay scenarios. You'll be making our games fun, it says. So we'll have missions and gameplay scenarios.
I'm the king of fun. You may as well give me that job now, Rockstar.
The lighting artists, obviously, is going to light the environments, cutscenes and characters for AAA video game titles. So it's obviously not going to be a download-only one. It's going to be a proper,
that's quite interesting.
fully-fledged game. The network programmer needs to specialise in the synchronisation of the wide range of gameplay mechanics found in a Rockstar open-world game. The position includes working with engineers and design staff to integrate dynamic multiplayer into all areas of the gameplay. Which I guess is like... Well, dynamic multiplayer would suggest an always-on world where it sort of jumps in and out without being able to... Like GTA Online does, it jumps into its own environment. But this, I could suggest, would be that it's more seamless and there's not that bump out. It sort of just integrates everything.
Yeah, that would be fascinating if they could achieve that. I'd have thought it's probably more likely to be a GTA... I mean, who knows? Maybe a GTA 5 mechanic of the online is always available. But like you say, that's not technically dynamic in the same way as it interchanges with single player games. So
because it's happening a lot in the next gen games now, like Need for Speed does it and Watch Dogs is going to do it, where you don't really know if you're playing with real people or not. It just sort of happens, and then you're like, oh, it's a real man. That's interesting.
Yeah.
The AI programmer should be ready to help us create the best open world experiences and push the limits of artificial intelligence in areas such as pathfinding, combat and decision making, with a particular eye towards making it all look believable to the player, which I guess is what all AI programmers strive to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Technical animator needs to assist with dynamics and in-game physics, designing and implementing efficient character, weapon and vehicle rigs for the project.
That's really interesting if you say vehicles in the context of, let's say this is Red Dead 2, right, and you're saying vehicles. Now, part of the shtick of Red Dead was that it was set as sort of the birth of the industrial age and the tension between the Old West and the New World. Now, what if they were to set it many years hence, when there is, there are cars and vehicles, and it's all a bit, the tension is increased. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's an interesting thing if it's Red Dead.
Yeah, that would be a hint towards the setting, I guess. There's a couple more, two more, I think. The gameplay programmer, the prospective candidate needs to be ready for the challenges posed by large-scale open worlds with complex AI and physics, and also needs console development experience, which is just another. They're making standard. A giant open world game.
Yeah.
And then just the character artist. It's quite obvious they're going to be making a lot of characters, as the ideal candidate will have extensive experience of modelling, sculpting and texturing a diverse range of characters, and be well versed in game art production methodology.
Okay.
So that's like a breakdown of some of them. So Dan, you were going to say whether you did think it was a hint towards Red Dead or not.
Yeah, crudely and logically, Red Dead makes sense. The reason is, apart from the fact it's San Diego, who have got previous experience, brutally, all games are resurrected or not based on how well they sell. Now, Red Dead was one of the biggest success stories, certainly in terms of new IP, of the last generation of consoles, or the current generation, depending how you look at it. Now, in early 2012, Rockstar had sold 13 million copies of Red Dead Redemption, which is actually quite impressive. Now, if you consider that GTA 5 has sold around 30 million, but then that game is a freakish, brilliant exception, and like the industry's leading light, you know, debatably out there as number one.
And the install base on 360 and PS3 now is a lot bigger than it was back then.
Yeah, exactly, it's huge. Now, for perspective, something like Assassin's Creed 3, and Assassin's is probably one of the top 5 franchises, Assassin's Creed 3 sold about 12 million in its first 6 months. So Red Dead, you know, did about as well as Assassin's Creed 3 does. I mean, timings are different and it's not quite comparable, but it shows that, in fact, Red Dead has got an audience.
Yeah.
It's big. There's scope for it to come back. I think, like we just discussed, there's interesting framework within its timing to do something different and fresh. You could skip it forward 20 years and it would be a different vibe. Now, I don't know whether that would kill it or people just want true cowboy, I don't know, but it would be an interesting way to look at it. Before we flip to our next topic, is there anything more to say you think about this particular thing? Because my other suggestion was, could this in fact be for the resurrection of Bully or Canis Canem Edit?
Well, I did think that, and that's a seamless segue, Dan.
Yes.
Into, on Monday, Rockstar filed the trademark for Bully Bulworth Academy Canis Canem Edit over here in the UK, and I think re-established the one in the US, the trademark for Bully over there, which is interesting because that was at its time a open world ish type game where you went round and you explored and it had vehicles and the school and all of that stuff in it. So yeah, they filed a new trademark for it. Filing trademarks essentially doesn't mean anything apart from that they want to keep the name on file and have it there.
And don't forget, recently they also refiled a trademark for Agent.
Yeah.
Now, you can't entirely take that out of the mix. So you're looking at 3 candidates for this new big AAA game. Let's say now, I don't think they're not making another GTA straight away because that's just not how it works. It won't be Max Payne because it isn't strictly open world.
Yeah.
Brutally, it didn't perform, you know, commercially as well as perhaps Rockstar would have liked. They have got these classic IPs on the back burner, which Red Dead, I think, is the hottest candidate. Bully's got potential. I don't think it's going to be Manhunt. I think that
would be good though.
That would be cool. But like an open world Manhunt kind of defeats what that game was, as in it was a deliberately enforced linearity upon you, certainly at the start as part of its thing. Like an open world killing simulator sounds a bit bleak.
I guess apart from GTA, you'd say that Rockstar would class Red Dead as their next big AAA like listing, because linked to the Bully trademark, there was a guy last month on his CV, a Rockstar employee who's a senior graphics engineer at Rockstar, who posted that he's listed Max Payne 3 on there. He's listed that he's worked on GTA 5 and that shipped in September 2013, and then his new position is currently working on the next version of a famous IP at Rockstar Games.
Yeah, just narrows it down to our famous IPs again.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, could it be LA Noire? Truthfully, I don't think so, because that was kind of a game that Rockstar picked up from Team Bondi, who'd had notorious problems bringing that to market and making it work. I think LA Noire was, by and large, a critical success. Certainly, commercially, I think did okay. Did pretty well, actually, but I don't think it's the game they'd be looking to bring back right away. Bully, though, what it has got, apart from a sort of cult following, it wasn't a big seller. Like, from the figures I understand, it's only sold about 1 million-ish copies on PS2 during its lifetime, which isn't fantastic. But there's great warmth from Dan Houser for it, and certainly within the Rockstar, you know, the higher ups. A couple of things to corroborate it. One is that in November 2009, this is quite a long time ago, so things really do change, a musician called Sean Lee, who scored Bully, was interviewed, and he was asked if he was doing any more games in the future, and he said, yes, it looks like I will be doing the soundtrack for Bully 2 in the not-so-distant future. Well, 4 years on, he hasn't done that yet, as far as we're aware.
And I'd say the not-so-distant future is now past.
Yeah, that's quite a long time ago. Now, but in November 2011, which isn't as long ago, a mere 2 years, Gama Sutra spoke to Dan Houser, and he said he may return to Bully once Max Payne 3 was out. Now, again, they didn't strictly do that straight away, but what Dan said was, Contrary to a lot of people, we like to take a little bit of time at the end of a game before starting a sequel, so we can wait for the excitement or disappointment and everything else of the experience to shake down and really see what we should do with the next game. He says, we knew we didn't want to start doing the Bully sequel instantly at the second with those guys, even though it is a property that, like Max, we adore and might come back to in future. There was no impetus to do that then, so we said, you can do Max, and then we will see what we can do with Bully.
Which, I mean, they're done with Max for a while now, I guess, so maybe they are looking at ways to work Bully. One thing I wanted to throw out there, Dan, for you, which ties it into GTA on GTA 5 o'clock. What about if Rockstar started to use, I mean, this is crazy talk, but I'm going to throw it out there, started to use the GTA Online universe as you've discussed before, as sort of like a PlayStation home where it exists, and then you drive to the Bulworth Academy in GTA Online and it seamlessly loads in the new Bully game, and then you just play that, and then when you're done you leave the school or you leave the village or whatever and you're shoved straight back into GTA Online, so you always use that as a central hub. I don't quite know how you'd get to Red Dead. You'd jump in a time machine or something, get in the DeLorean,
little bit
go 88 miles an hour and then jump back to Red Dead. But I think that would be really cool, just to load one central world and have everything.
I think that's fascinating. I think definitely before I knew what GTA Online was going to be in the wild, I thought that was an interesting prospect. Now GTA Online is out and has been beset by various problems that have been fixed, and it's essentially still only a 16-player experience on current gen until Rockstar inevitably relaunch it on next gen, probably with a much higher player cap, smoother, will work. I'd have thought all those different things I would expect, but still, whether it's the correct platform to launch, say, either a spin-off like Bully or even a GTA 6, I'm not sure yet, because I still think people will want that sort of closed-loop single-player experience that doesn't blur lines. But further interesting to that, Ubisoft are wrestling with a similar thing with Assassin's Creed, where they've kind of closed the loop in that story to an extent, and have talked about, crossover between Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs, and they've sort of mooted it themselves that they could exist in the same world. So it might be that they're trying to find a similar solution to have a Ubisoft universe. And this is not, in the wider sphere of entertainment, not without precedent. If you look at how Marvel, who've become the masters of cross-pollination and branding, have introduced different elements of the Marvel universe within their respective IPs, be it the Avengers spinning out into individual movies, be it the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that hints at some of the other characters. I think there's ways to do it, but technically games are in a different place to film. I mean, for you, James, let's say we were narrowing this down to their next big thing is A, Bully, B, Red Dead, C, Agent. What would you put your money on?
The safe money goes on Red Dead, it being the same studio and it being a massive open world thing. But I wouldn't rule out the possibility of Agent coming back in some way, because if you think the job listings are going up now, you think maybe pre-production has started on it, but actual development hasn't yet.
Agent
on this game. So it's going to be, I mean, Rockstar historically take a while to make that. It's not like a 1 year turnaround. So you're looking at 2, maybe 3 years before this game even comes out.
Yeah, it depends again on what the game is, because Agent, for example, has been talked about, and in fact was on pre-production on PS2. PS2. But then this isn't a unique situation for Rockstar. If you look at you research the history of Red Dead, which was in fact Capcom's at one stage, that's been through all sorts of different life cycles, and was in development in so many terms for 5 or 6 years. So it's not beyond the realm. They'll have a game that's so far down the line, but the actual making it, I agree with you, could be 2 years away.
Yeah, I mean the technology that they've got in GTA 5 would in some way port over to a new open world game, in the sense that they've got the engine there and everything set up for that kind of stuff. But obviously it all need tweaking. But I mean, I'd put my money on a form of Red Dead. Whether it's called Red Dead or not, I don't know, but they'd be, you know, crazy to change its name, really.
I think it's almost certainly be Red Dead because it's got brand recognition now.
So what would you plump for?
Well, I'm pretty torn actually. Now we've talked about it, it's not completely clear. Like I do feel like I felt like in my thoughts that maybe Agent could come back. You know, it's never even happened technically.
No, it's been
but it's
that one picture.
It's such an exciting concept. The idea of, you know, let's say creating schmaltzy, high octane Bond's greatest moments as you globetrot doing things. Now imagine if you just take that premise to just the GTA 5 engine and make it a game of relentless set pieces. That would be pretty fun.
Yeah.
Like in really diverse locations. It's like when you do pop out to North Yankton. It feels great to be in the snow and doing that stuff. Now imagine if you were literally skiing off a mountain like that sort of seminal James Bond introduction, and then you parachute off, you've got the Union Jack parachute. That's really exciting, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm really torn. I'd probably say I'm leaning slightly more to Red Dead because I think commercially that's the banker. Then I'm sort of split equally between Agent and Bully. Now, until you said that they were looking for AAA programmer, I suspected could one of these be more of a spin-off or a remake, but I'm not entirely sure. I probably need to do a bit more research and see my thoughts.
Alright, so that is the news from the world of Rockstar.
Such exciting news. I love speculation.
Yeah,
in
it's
this
really
world.
good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you never know. A Red Dead Redemption o'clock at some point.
That's a mouthful.
We'll have to reword that somehow.
Yeah.
But anyway, so in the world of GTA 5 and GTA Online, this week has seen some audio hints towards what might be coming up in the world of GTA Online. Now, these were reportedly extracted from the recently released Beach Bum DLC. Extracted, I imagine, in the same way that people are extracting the alien HUD and all of that stuff out of code.
Yeah, like compiling it out of XML lists and various different PC things that I don't really understand.
Yeah, nor do I. But it looks like it features audio from various characters in the game discussing some new activities and even some new locations. So shall we take a look at these, Dan?
Yeah, let's walk through them, or talk through them would be better rather than walk, because they're not pieces of grass or anything like that. Mild spoiler alert if these turn out to be true. It's not so much like plot spoiler, it's more like feature spoilers.
Yeah,
if it does
new things that might happen.
Yes, I mean, do you want to basically what it is, this audio has got a series of repeated threads that allude to quite probable gameplay features or mission strands. So I don't know if you want to read out some of the dialogue and then we can break through, or do you want to explain what we think the threads are first?
Well, let's say what the things might be and then go through the audio and say why that could be a real thing.
Okay, well, some things are repeated. This is like a 6-minute clip of audio. Several different things are repeated in different ways, right? Now, first of all, that lends it credibility because what Rockstar do classically is record slightly varied pieces of dialogue to describe essentially the same thing. So you might say something like, hey, let's go and check out the airport, and you'll go, hey, we really should get to the airport, you know, and they'll do stuff like that just to keep the variety up. Now, this does do that. Now, the threads it mentions are a opening of a casino.
Yes!
As infinitely requested by yourselves,
Yeah.
And certainly on our at GTA 5 o'clock Twitter feed. You know, the casino's there in the game, we can see it. It's a giant building, it's conspicuous by its non-activity.
Yeah.
So that would make perfect sense. Now, that's number one. Another thread is the ability to bet on car races for pink slips.
Yeah.
Like number two, is that like? Do you think that's like a street racing thing?
Well, pink slips in America are the things that say who owns the car. So it's a way of betting your car on a race. So instead of doing it for money, like you do at the moment, you go, I'm going to win this race, I'm going to bet $800 I'm going to win. You bet your actual modded up supercar on the race. I don't quite know how that will work with more than two people, but essentially you'd go, let's have a street race, and the winner of this street race will take away both cars. So, I mean, it's a great way of modding up your car to like a massive, spending loads of money on it, and then taking it out on the streets and saying, this is the best car, I'm going to race you for it.
I'm going to prove it.
And then you lose it, and then you get really sad.
Devastating. Now, the third thing that's repeated is a voice on the audio that sounds like a dead ringer for Leicester.
Yeah.
And at some stage it's like explicitly stated as Leicester. He repeatedly talks about, he says, have you tried your phone since there was a system upgrade? He says the new camera features are worth a look. Now, it doesn't say exactly what those features are. There's two strands to this. One is speculation based on something I've been saying for a long time, that wouldn't it be great if your camera phone, much like real life, could capture video?
Yeah.
That would be amazing. And instead of just sharing a Rockstar Social Club, twit pics, you could actually take video like Vines or something and share that. That would be incredible. Whether the tech's there right now, I don't know. That's one thread of it. The other is, Leicester talks a lot in this leaked audio about the idea of surveillance and being a voyeur.
Yeah.
He says, like, voyeurism is my forte, who's the lucky person? And he talks about doing hits as well. Now, I don't know whether this is like some new mission thread where you have to tail people to get info.
Yeah, I mean, it could be more audio to go with the bounty things that we do at the moment.
Like the standard assassination
missions
it's got.
But it does sound like there is another thread here as well about, like, I think there's some bits that he says, like, how do you want the hit completed? So you can, which would suggest to, instead of just putting a bounty on someone and getting everyone to go and kill them, you could go, I want them to be stabbed at night in this location or something like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's getting quite creepy then. But I guess things like that.
Exactly that. So we're not sure exactly what, but there's definitely that thread repeatedly mentioned. Now, another guy keeps talking about fighting sharks and alpha mailing it. He says hardcore, swam with a shark, blah blah blah. Now, it could well be Brucey.
I think these ones sound like Brucey.
Yeah, Brucey and his bull shark testosterone.
Yeah.
Could be Brucey. You were saying the other lines that were a bit radical though could be
Dom. Yeah, he's the guy who keeps trying to, in GT Online, I don't like doing the power shooting that much because I'm not very good at it. He's the guy who keeps ringing me up going, hey, you should go and check out the power shooting. I'm like, oh, no, I'm not very good at it. But he seems to be suggesting that there's going to be a new arena open up with a dirt track inside it.
Oh, this is interesting. This could be a different thread then, because he relates to, there's repeated reference to an indoor time trials at the Kickstart Arena or Kickstarter Arena.
Yeah.
Which is like described as indoor off-road racing, which is like, you've seen it, like sort of scramble jump racing. That makes perfect sense. Another fun set of, game modes or races. We've talked about surveillance. Now, there's also repeated talk of the need to invest in property and the need to maintain that property.
Yeah, there's a guy who sounds a bit like a pirate, possibly Mexican.
Yeah.
And also G, who's the guy you meet at the very beginning of the GT Online tutorial missions, who you go do all the drug deals for. He's also in there, and he talks about, are you ready to start making money on the streets and get hustling, that kind of stuff.
It's like moving merchandise, bulk supplies.
Yeah.
Sounds like a drug dealing, shipping type thing.
He says like things like, there's people around town who will hook you up, so I guess that's more characters to go and see, or more individual people that you can go and meet on the streets. But the pirate Mexican man talks a lot about property, and you should really get some money in property. It's much harder to waste that way. So you want to deal on a larger scale. Perhaps it's time to invest in some business opportunities, which relates to the GTA single player game, where you buy businesses that then make you money over time. And there's no reason why that wouldn't be in the online version.
And we think all of these things are related to new online modes and missions, we're guessing.
Yeah, I mean, buying property, and even that guy even says you can buy a share in a property that you want to sell merchandise from.
Oh, man.
So that maybe relates to like crew ownership of buildings, or multiple ownerships of buildings that then make you all individually a bit of money, which would also tie into, every now and then in the online world you'd have to protect that property from getting like attacked by other people in the world or other crews. I think that would work really well.
Yeah, I think that would work fantastically well.
So I think there's also a bit from Brucey who talks about fighting sharks. Now, we've seen your video, Dan, of how when you
that's
and
not
Tim
very easy.
tried to fight a shark. But yeah, he says, like, No way, I just fought off a shark, and by fight I mean shot it in blind panic. Now whether shark fighting is going to become a thing...
Sounds too mad, doesn't it?
But yeah, I mean, there's some lines in here that made us think we don't want to have another North Yankton DLC on our hands, though, do we? That's the problem.
Yeah, well, yeah, the North Yankton DLC, for those of you who haven't seen the previous episode, is there's been a similar-ish leak that did the rounds on GTA forums and various places where people claim to have hacked into, the code and found lines of dialogue relating to a piece of single-player DLC set in North Yankton, and it was all quite plausible to a point, apart from some of the terrible dialogue lines that they... And, James had successfully tipped it as bogus, and it was bogus. So that probably put me especially on guard with this. But having listened to it, I definitely feel like the voice of Lester you hear is Lester. Whether that's because somebody's done a brilliant impression, or these are literally lines that already exist within GTA 5 and have been lifted, and I just can't tell that the lines I've heard already. I don't know. And also the repetition of certain threads and different ways to say it seems incredibly authentic to me.
Yeah, and some of the lines are definitely new. Like, they're very specific. Like, there's a line from Lester that says, "So listen, I've just heard a casino has opened up in town. Apparently it's pretty fun. Maybe you want to check it out." Like, directly referencing something that isn't in the game.
Yeah, and it would be then, and it's the sort of way you would explain that stuff to you as well. So it all kind of, like we were saying off air, do we believe in this? Well, I think I'm increasingly like sort of 60% plus this is correct now.
Yeah, I think it's... Well, I think the lines are definitely real. Whether or not they'll lead to anything, like, in the near future...
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I mean, it'd be great to have like a Christmas present of just have some load of new content. The casino's open. There's a dirt track.
Yeah, totally.
There's car racing now for other people's cars. There's hits and things. I don't know.
And like what you said was fishy is interesting is that it's so laser targeted at what people have requested that it almost seems officially like a community hoax.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, either way, it's interesting. Let us know what you think in the comments below, or get in touch on that GTA V o'clock.
Yeah, so that is the GTA 5 audio files covered, I think. Just before we go, we have got another goodie bag to give away. Use the hashtag GTA 5 goodie bag or GTA V goodie bag.
Yep.
And then put a comment below that is possibly not a rap and not about giving it to a small child.
We've had some good raps.
Well, yeah, there have been
that
some
Fresh
good
Prince
raps.
of Bel-Air rap that won. Do you know, increasingly, right, I used to be able to pronounce my R's, but since I've been doing GTA 5 o'clock, I've lost that ability.
I think it's hanging around with me, Dan. I think that's the problem.
Have I lost my ability to say the R's?
It's something that I suck out of people.
Oh, man, not the
Sorry.
R ability.
But yes, put your comments below. So you don't mind some more raps?
I'm pro raps if they're interesting new raps.
Alright. Okay, well, put something interesting new and something that's going to get our attention.
That's not to say it should be a rap.
No, it could not be a rap. But put it below, something interesting, something that's going to stand out.
Could be a poem, or one of those little, like a little octet, or a haiku.
A haiku, yeah. Or just, a brilliant picture or a brilliant Photoshop drawing of something from GTA related or anything like that. Put a link or anything in the description below using the hashtag GTA5 goodie bag, and we will pick a winner and announce it on the Friday live stream, which Dan is about to give you details for.
Yeah, it's on every Friday without fail, except for the weeks it fails, and that's at 4 PM GMT. We appreciate that's a slightly difficult time for British people who are having jobs and working or at school or college. It's because we, unbelievably, our 9 to 5 inverted commas job is here at our employers,
doing this,
of which GTA is a large part, but not exclusively everything. So this is our job, amazingly, and these are the hours we work. But we are looking at doing evening sessions. It just presents logistically more problems, but we want to get more people involved. So that's this Friday, 4 p.m. GMT on YouTube / youtube.com/CVG.
/ People don't like it when you say backslash.
I always say backslash.
I know, they hate it.
/ Can't say my arse or do the correct slash. Yeah, CVG. Now do check it out. We're putting the link at the time, promoting it in advance on @GTAVOclock. That is the best way to stay in touch with us and to follow what we do. And if you've missed any of the previous live streams, you can catch up with them all on the CVG YouTube channel. Do subscribe, make sure you don't miss any. Or if you found it all a little bit bewildering, James has compiled a hilarious clip of our best bits, which is mostly me being rubbish at games and shouting.
Yeah.
But it's a good catch-up. We do a regular game mode every week called Bounty Hunter, where one person has to run away, chased by 15 people. We've got a leaderboard up and running. That's great fun. We're going to pick out some people to take part in that as well. I think that's it for that, isn't it?
Yep, I think that's it, Dan. So thanks for this week. Dan, you might not be here on Friday for the live stream, but we'll deal with that when that day comes.
It's possible I'll be spending some time with my family.
Yeah, but we will see. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. And if we don't see you on Friday, we'll see you back here next week.
Yeah, see you soon. Bye.